competition has taken notice.
Oh, my God.
Good luck keeping up with us, amateurs. So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thebbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show. What's happening? This is your program host, Greg Rempe. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the Barbecue Central Show. Centralites, how's your life? As you well know by now, the show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. So thankful that you've decided to join me. We are jam-packed, so I'm going to get right into it. First of all, contact information if you want to jump in on the show. Phone number is 216-220-0966. If you have an email question, you can do that as well. bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. Coming up next segment, we have William Montgomery coming on to talk about the Q Series pits that him and his company makes, Outdoor Living. And then the segment after that, Candy Weaver, friend of the show, is going to be on talking about her run for the Kansas City Barbecue Society's Board of Directors. But we do have a first segment interview. If you're a listener to the show here, at least over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you know we have been following the Kansas City Barbecue Society's Team of the Year points race. And it ended last weekend in Tempe, Arizona at the Q and Brew Festival. And my guest that is joining me now is now the current KCBS Team of the Year for 2009 and really hitting what is tantamount to a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth in the World Series. It is friend of the show, pitmaster of Pellet Envy, Rod Gray. Rod, thanks for coming on tonight. How are you?
Hey, Greg, how are you? I'm doing great.
Yeah, I bet you're doing well. And I got to imagine, Rod, that with all of the buildup and all of the chase that has been going on here, at least especially over the last 4 weeks or so, that going into Tempe, and you had said a couple weeks ago in our previous interview that the pressure was firmly on Darren from Iowa Smoky D's and Steve from I Smell Smoke. But when you get there, it had to be even maybe a little extra satisfaction to go down there and know that you didn't have to leave it up to those guys to not win when you step up and take grand champion. Why don't you kind of walk us through that?
Well, you know, Greg, it's over now. We can take the gloves off. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The most pressure I felt through those last 4 or 5 weeks was driving down to Florida. And I was looking at that like, if I don't win right here, I don't see how I could pull it off the next weekend. We don't know how many teams we're going to have. So remarkably, while I thought I would feel some pressure driving out to Tempe this time, I really didn't. We all got out there. We had a good time. The three of us, our teams had dinner together on Friday night. We were all in pretty good moods. I think our game faces came on Saturday morning for sure. I tried to cook the best cook I could cook. I'll be honest with you, we felt good about our chicken and our ribs, and we didn't feel so good about our pork and our brisket. And as most of the people know, we got the calls and the pork and the brisket.
Isn't that how it always works, right?
Yeah. The really fun part of the whole thing was we all went to awards together. We all sat close to each other. And you can look at the results and see how it shook out, but what you can't see is that Mike from the Arizona Barbecue Group decided to call out top 5 in each category. And if you look at that, Pellet Envy sat with no calls until pork.
Right.
I Smell Smoke gets a call. First Darren gets a call in chicken, and then I Smell Smoke gets a call in ribs. And then we finally get a call in pork, and we get a call in brisket. So then I don't think they paid 4 places overall, so I don't believe that this was done for Team of the Year purposes. They only call out the top 4 teams overall. And as you probably know, the trend these days is to call out top 10, even if they're only paying 2 places overall. They're paying 4 places overall, so they decided to call out top 4. So if you look at the results, you see that Sweet Peppers finishes 4th. You see then Steve Farron, I Smell Smoke, and his crew get called as 3rd, which that's obviously a sigh of relief. Steve muttered something about his chicken recipe as he walked up for 3rd place. Then Rhythm and Cue is called for Reserve Grand Champion. So there said Darren Worth and I looking at each other. He, of course, is saying I have it. I'm, of course, saying he has it. He's got 2 calls. I've got 2 calls. And as I recall, I think there was another team in that group that we thought had a really good shot at winning it. And then they call Pellet Envy for grand, and we know it's all over.
Yeah, at that point,
that was really cool.
Yeah, at that point, with you and Darren both kind of sitting there knowing that one or the other can not only take grand champion for that event, but then that puts you over the top for team of the year. It had to be kind of nerve-wracking for those few moments.
Yeah, for a few moments. Yeah, it was. I won't kid you. I really thought Darren had it. I wasn't keeping track of where his calls were. I do know he didn't have a brisket call, and he'd won brisket the previous 2 weekends, so I'm assuming he's strong in brisket. And as it turns out, we were 8th place chicken, 8th place ribs, 2nd place pork, 2nd place brisket, and that was enough to put us over the top.
Now, let me ask you this, Rod, because I think it's maybe important for people, especially the listeners here that maybe aren't as steeped into what is going on with competition barbecue. Maybe they were exposed a little bit to it last Thursday on TLC with the TV show. But really, when you go back and look over the annals of 2009 season, there probably was really no other team that could really stack up to you as far as, I mean, you were out there really laying the lumber, doing the contests. Could you give the listeners an idea of maybe what the miles traveled were, how many competitions you did, how many nights out you were away from home, and then maybe what kind of prize money is out there to kind of get the people an idea of you're doing all this chasing. In the end, does it justify, the paycheck and the prize money?
We traveled just under 40,000 miles this year to compete. I think we did 31 events. I think we were in 33 states. I can tell you that as an example of nights away, I can tell you that I am a member of a program for one hotel in the country, and I am as high on their tier as I can get because of the nights spent in their hotels this year. So I won't kid you. By this time of year, and actually a month ago, you're road weary from what you're doing. You ask about the prize money. There are good days and bad. I want to say that the Arizona guys put on great barbecue contests. Almost to my surprise, we're far enough away from the barbecue belt that you just feel like there's no way it's going to be a great event. And I will tell you, the one event's in his 3rd year, and this event was in his 1st year, and they were both first-class events from the organization level. I won't kid you that I got to those 2 calls and won grand and did not pay for my trip.
Wow.
So some days are good, some days are bad. Did we make some money this year in competition barbecue? Well, we won 8 events, more events than any other team on the circuit, and we won the brisket category for Team of the Year as well. So, yeah, there was some money mixed in there. And I'm sure I covered my expenses and had a little bit to put in my pocket, but nobody's getting rich. I'm driving a 2002 pickup with 235,000 miles on it, and I'm nowhere close to being able to replace it based on what we did this year.
So it's just kind of a good idea to give people some type of insight as to what you're doing. You're out there pretty much full-time doing it there on the competition circuit. So with all that factored in, looking back, winning Team of the Year, I mean, does this pretty much justify 2009 in your view with everything that you've had to put into it?
Yeah, I think it does. Ask me if I would do it again, and today I would tell you no. Give me a couple of months to rest up and ask me again, and I might give you a different answer. But I think it does justify it this year. I think you'd mentioned in previous shows we've never had such an exciting finish to Team of the Year. I think it drew a lot of attention to competition barbecue. The TV show added to that. The people talking on the forum about the points chase added to that. Darren and Steve and I trading blows, winning contests down the stretch there near the end. I think all of that kind of culminated in some serious interest in what's going on in competition barbecue.
No doubt about it. And we're talking with Rod Gray, pitmaster of Pellet Envy, and he is the brand new Team of the Year for the Kansas City Barbecue Society for 2009. Rod, we just have a few minutes left here, but I did want to kind of break away from the Team of the Year talk. You had made pretty much a huge announcement to our friend from the north there, Diva Q, on her blog the other day. And you had basically made, just to paraphrase it, you were going to be stepping away from Pellet Envy name from the FE Cookers. Is that true? What's the thought process behind that, and why the change?
Greg, I'm happy to answer that question. Before we step away from the whole Team of the Year thing, I do want to say one thing. One of these three teams in the chase, I Smell Smoke, lost a teammate this weekend in Tempe, Arizona. Mike was a great guy, and he'll be sorely missed. I've never met a guy more fun, more happy, and I think it's important that I mention that my heart sank when I heard that, and my thoughts go out to his family and Steve and Charlie and Carlotta and his team, and it's really a sad deal.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I didn't know that, Rod. I appreciate that.
Having said that, to answer your question, I haven't cooked a lot on pellets in the last 2 years. It's just people haven't noticed because of the team name. We won 8 events in 2008, and 6 of those were on my gear pit, on my Jambo. This year we won 8 events, and 7 of those were on my Jambo. So the truth is, that's more blogger hype than anything because we haven't cooked that much on pellets the last 2 years. We've cooked primarily with the stick burner. So it's really not a big change, except for it's kind of a fallacy to have a name Pellet Envy and then travel the country pulling a Jamie Gear-built Jambo pit and cooking on it. I get a lot of questions and a lot of head turns and a lot of where the pellets go and that kind of thing. So with this Team of the Year thing, we'll compete as Pellet Envy in 2010, and then in 2011 there'll be a new team name.
Now, I mean, you're a smart guy. You've been able to market yourself very well. You have a big sponsor in Greased Lightning that helps you guys out during the course of the year. Looking at it from a business perspective, to get away from that, to change the team name, is there any type of trepidation on your part to make such a vast and sweeping change to the name? There's going to be a new website, there'll be a new team name, new logos, all that good stuff. Is there any type of worry on your part from a business decision that this might not be the best thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm very concerned about that. We've got a lot of brand equity in Pellet Envy. A lot of people know Pellet Envy, even if they don't know us. Mm-hmm. Way back to the television show in 2003 where we won Las Vegas. People will walk up to our trailer and say, hey, I saw you guys on television. I've spoke with Greased Lightning about it. I've talked with a marketing guy about it who's a good friend of mine, and they think we can weather it. We'll find a way to make that transition smoothly, but I think it's a big deal to make that move. Is it the smartest move I've ever made? It probably isn't. I guess we'll know more about that come 2011.
We're talking with Rod Gray. He's the pitmaster of Pellet Envy. You can find them at pelletenvy.com for now. One other question here before I let you go, Rod, and I had asked you this a couple times, maybe in the first or second interview that we had, but now you're going to be going to the Jambo pit full-time, getting away from the stick burners. You can't deny the fact that the FE Cookers have done very well in competitions. Of course, Fast Eddie would be the first one to sit there and tell you that. But you look at a number of the teams that are competing weekend in, weekend out that are doing well. They have at least one in their arsenal. Of course, the Jambo pits are doing very well, and they have done very well for the last number of years. And I understand with the pellet cookers, it's convenient. It lets you do some other things during the competition that maybe you can't do with some of the other stick burners. But do you think, or is there any merit to thinking that the pellet cooker is kind of dumbed down the fire management or that portion of the art form in the sport to a point where that's kind of not even looked at as being a learned process, being the fire management?
Greg, I really wouldn't say that. I'm a fan of pellet cookers. I'm still a fan of pellet cookers. I'm a huge fan of Candy Weaver's pellets. I know she's coming on soon. They're my favorite pellet in the world. Great product. And I think a pellet cooker puts out a good product in general. A couple of years ago, when fuel got so expensive, I started to pull this Jambo pit around because I could save a really significant amount of money on fuel. And we started to have some success with it. It's a new challenge for me. I'm still in competition barbecue. I'm still cooking the same 4 meats. I just have a new challenge in a new style of pit. And that new style of pit has rejuvenated me some, and that's the reason I'm going to make the change. In terms of dumbing it down, you know what? You still have to cook the food. You still have to know your cooker. You can't just buy a pellet cooker and instantly become a winner on the circuit. There's so much more to it than that.
But it does remove a certain aspect that if you're not paying attention to a stick burning pit, there's a lot more forgiveness on those type of pits.
They're not as forgiving. I will give you that. But good fire management skills are not that hard to learn. Take me, for example. I'm not a very fast learner, and I can seem to manage the fire on my Jambo just fine.
We're talking with Rod Gray, the pitmaster of Pellet Envy. And again, you can find them at pelletenvy.com. Rod, again, appreciate the time here on short notice. I know you're very busy and probably just want to kick back and hang out for a little while here. But again, congrats on Team of the Year 2009. And I personally appreciate you coming on here all year, making time for the show and kind of tracking this progress for the race. It was very exciting. Congratulations to you, and thanks for coming on tonight.
Greg, thank you. I love the show. I love to tune in when I can. Keep up the good work. And thanks for having me on again.
All right, Rod, we'll talk to you soon. There he is, Rod Gray, Pellet Envy. PelletEnvy.com if you need him. Great interview and always accessible. Appreciate that with a lot of the barbecue guys that are out there, big names in the industry that always seem to be able to make time here for the show on a Tuesday. So I do appreciate that. Again, that's Rod Gray from Pellet Envy, PelletEnvy.com. I got to get out as I am late, but that was well worth it. When we come back, we're going to be talking with William Montgomery from Outdoor Living on the Q Series ovens. Stick around. It's Rempy and you right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at TheBarbecueGuru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU.
Forget going from site to site to get all your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the Pellet Grill Superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber as well as a full lineup of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. You can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichland of Barbecue U fame. Check Fred out on the web at fredsmusicandbbq.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
Get in the smoke. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back to the Barbecue Central Show. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe, bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. If you want to ask or get in touch with the show, that's the way to do it. This portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic pit temperature control devices, not to mention a host of other products that make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Check them out. Won't you? Two ways to do it. You can do it on the internet, thebbqguru.com, or you can call them toll-free, 800-288-GURU. That's the good folks at the Barbecue Guru. Or as promised, joining me now is the co-owner and vice president of Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. It is William Montgomery joining us here on the Barbecue Central Show. William, thanks for taking the time out. How are you?
I'm great, Greg. Thank you for having me.
Certainly my pleasure, and thanks for making the time to do it. Want to talk about your unique brand of Q-Series ovens here in just a minute, but before we do that, why don't we get a little history about yourself and kind of how you got involved into the whole outdoor live fire cooking thing?
Well, going way back, I grew up with a wood burning stove in my house, growing up, camping and being outdoors. So I'm no stranger to cooking over a fire and enjoying both the family-oriented experience of cooking with fire and also the great flavors that result from that style of cooking. So it was just a natural that when my business partner and I came across these very unique ovens, and we actually got to see them and see how they work up front, it was just a no-brainer for us to take on a product so unique and innovative in terms of its design to be able to address the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking.
Now, have you always been in some type of food service industry, or are you coming from a complete business background altogether?
Completely different backgrounds. Both my business partner and I come from logistics. He comes from distribution. It just we hit a common chord with this particular opportunity to offer a very unique and innovative product to enhance the outdoor living experience.
This was an existing product that was located here in this country, or how do you run across this opportunity?
We came across it through an acquaintance of my business partner's. He had imported a couple of them and had been distributing them on a very small scale, and we created a formal business around it and decided to take it to a nationwide level, distributing them through specialty retailers around the country.
And how long ago was that when you guys got into business?
We formally started it back in December of last year, but it really wasn't until the trade show of the outdoor living industry called the Hearth, Patio, and Barbecue Association that was held in Reno back in March that we really started in earnest. That was when we presented the product to the trade and really started taking off from there, developing our dealer network.
We're talking with William Montgomery. He is the vice president, co-owner of Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. They make the Q-Series ovens, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Now, during this show, we talk a lot about the charcoal-fired cookers. We have the wood-burning offsets, or the Texas style, if you will. And this unit, as well as another unit that I talked about a couple of weeks ago with the guy from Wildwood Ovens, is a little bit different than that, still wood-burning. First of all, I guess, what makes your particular oven, the Q-Series ovens, different than the Wildwood-type ovens?
Well, and I've used these words, unique and innovative, a couple of times in this discussion, and this is a perfect time to address just how they are that way. There's two types of wood-fired ovens out there. You have a black oven. Wildwood would fall in that category. The traditional ceramic Italian-style pizza oven would fall in that category. A black oven is one that you are actually cooking your food in the same chamber that you're building your fire in. You build your fire. You take a couple hours to get that temperature and that ceramic dome up to the desired temperature, and then you let that radiant heat do the cooking. The other style is what maybe our great-grandparents and before used to use before electricity, was a white oven, where you would have two separate chambers. One would be where you build your fire, and you use the heat from that fire to cook the food in an adjacent cooking chamber, just like a old wood-burning stove. Ours we consider to be a gray oven or a hybrid design. We prefer the phrase hybrid, meaning that, yes, there are two chambers. There's a cooking chamber above a wood-burning chamber, but the two chambers are vented. They're connected through vents running up the side that allows both the heat to flow into the cooking chamber and also that wonderful smoke flavor that you get from everything that you cook. And you get different flavors from the different types of wood that you use. It allows that flavor and that heat to get into the cooking area, and it also keeps it clean. You don't have to deal with the fly ash getting on your food. You can maintain your fire without having to worry about that type of thing, and it's also a lot more efficient. You're getting up to temperature in as quickly as 20 minutes, which means getting up to 700 degrees to cook pizza in as fast as 20 minutes. And so it's very easy to regulate the temperature and very efficient to get it up to those high temperatures when desired.
We're talking to William Montgomery. He's the vice president, co-owner of Quintessential Outdoor Living. You can check them out at indoors and then the numeral 2 and the word out, OUT.com. One of the things that I did notice, William, is unlike the Wildwood ovens, which you're getting and putting in a garden setting or in a built-in, and you're probably, unfortunately, leaving them behind when you sell the house, it looked like all of your Q-Series ovens were on casters or portable, so not only can you move them around the backyard for different functions or what have you, but if you're going to move or go to a different location, it's something you could take with you.
That's correct, Greg. We have 5 different models in the Q-Series wood-fired oven line. They all can be portable and freestanding with optional stands. 3 of those 5 models are designed by virtue of their shape to be easily built into a kitchen island, which is unique in the wood-fired category because the other traditional ceramic-style ovens need to be built completely into a chimney, which is a very costly project. Our ovens can be built into a kitchen island, or they can be built into a chimney. Two other models in the line are purposely built to be freestanding. They have stainless handles on the side to make rolling around the patio or the backyard a lot easier. And lastly, they can all be taken with the homeowner should they sell their house or move.
And what are these units actually made out of?
They're handcrafted by skilled artisans out of quarter-inch plate steel, grade 304 stainless steel, and refractory brick.
Now, for the people that don't understand exactly what refractory brick is, can you give us a little background on that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a fire brick. If you look inside any kind of a wood-fired appliance, like a wood-burning stove, you'll see ceramic-type brick that will absorb and radiate heat.
This allows the cooker to stay at temperature or be able to get up to temperature a little bit more quickly because it's absorbing the heat that's being fired up underneath?
Yes, that's correct.
William, is there any possibility that, given the steel makeup of this cooker, that there will be an occasion to rust?
Greg, all steel is going to rust if left alone in the elements over time. We've taken special care in our manufacturing process to ensure that the quarter-inch plate steel part of the oven is sufficiently protected with a high-quality silicone-based high-temperature paint. And the grade 304 stainless is a good high-quality grade to withstand the elements. That said, over time, steel will rust. The nice thing about these ovens is maintenance is very, very simple. For example, if you get a scratch on the front of your oven, and that naturally is going to begin to rust, a little bit of steel wool, some high-temperature satin-colored stove paint, over it, and you're back in business. And maintenance, as long as you keep it clean, we do offer an optional cover, a very high-quality jacket that goes over the oven, and that'll help protect it from the elements as well.
Always a big fan of covering any cooker that you have. At least I am. And we're talking with William Montgomery. He is the vice president. He also the co-owner of Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. We're talking about the Q-Series wood-fired ovens. Since it is steel on the outside, some of the Texas-style pits or offset burning pits require a whole seasoning process. Do you require any type of seasoning to the steel?
Yes, we do, Greg, but ours is very simple, and it only takes an hour to do this. All we ask is that upon the initial firing, that you build a fire, let the temperature rise gradually, leaving both the fire chamber door and the cook chamber door open for about an hour. And what that enables the product to do is just to vent out any fumes, any vapors that have accumulated in the manufacturing process. Nothing that we use is toxic by any means, but it could always impart some sort of a flavor to the initial food that you cook. So what we recommend is just a 1-hour curing session, and that, again, is just another unique aspect of our ovens, is that set up from the time you take it out of the packaging, you set it up, and you cure it. 2 hours later, you're already ready to cook.
William Montgomery is our guest here on the Barbecue Central show. Now, you did make mention here previously that you had 5 models to choose from. Just in a ballpark figure for people that are potentially interested, in, at least in the conversation that we're having, what kind of a price point are we jumping off at on these?
You're looking at anywhere from $2,500 up to $4,000, and the $4,000 model is really a commercial grade that has cooking capacity for 4 18-inch pizzas simultaneously. It can also cook good-size pig for pig roasting, several large turkeys at one time for roasting. So it's a very, very large oven, and so priced pretty well at $4,000, comparatively speaking.
Are there multiple shelving options on here, or is it just one straight cooking panel underneath?
The surface of the cook chamber on any of our Q-Series oven is a high-quality, very dense clay refractory brick type of stone. In addition to that, all of the ovens come with a stainless cook shelf that runs on tracks about midway through the cook chamber to allow an extra cook space. That shelf is removable to cook larger items right on the stone, but it also adds, for example, an extra space to cook vegetables. When I cook steaks on my Q-Series wood-fired oven, I'm cooking steaks right on that pizza stone at about 650 degrees, searing in the juices. Turns out just beautifully, but I'm also cooking things like sweet potatoes wrapped in aluminum foil, some corn on the cob that's been soaked in water for a while, and I'm cooking those right on the rack up top. Cooks quickly, everything has that nice wood flavor, and you just get a whole nice meal out of that for a family.
Now, on the side of barbecue, since we're talking about some maybe lower and slower temperatures, what kind of capacity could you get, let's say, baby back ribs or something in there?
I cooked about 8 pounds of ribs. I had 4 very large racks on 2 baking pans, both on the upper and lower rack. And what I was doing was rotating that through over about a 3-hour period. I was maintaining the temperature at about 250 degrees. That's not really the low and slow smoking aspect, and that really isn't the purpose of these ovens. These ovens are going to excel anywhere from, say, 250 or 300 degrees all the way up to cooking temperatures of 750 to 900 degrees, and everywhere in between.
Talking with William Montgomery. He is the vice president and co-owner of Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. We're talking about the Q-Series wood-fired ovens. So after you've cooked your food, regardless if it's steak or ribs or whatever the case may be, how easy is it to clean up that pizza stone underneath that you've just been cooking on?
It's very easy. All you need to do is, when the temperature gets up to 700 degrees, it's a self-cleaning oven. Really, anything over 500 degrees is a self-cleaning oven. Everything burns off. I just take a wire brush and brush any residue. For example, if I'm cooking ribeyes and it might get you have some of the juices left over on that stone at 600 degrees, I'm just going to let it burn off for a little bit and then scrape it and then brush it off, and you're ready to go again.
Now, are you guys selling through your own Quintessential Outdoor Living brick-and-mortar stores, or do you have some type of dealership network created?
We have developed and we continue to grow a specialty retailer network around the country. These are folks that have excelled for generations in some cases, selling outdoor living products, anywhere from hearth products to barbecue and patio type products, even specialty pool and spa stores. We're also expanding into the landscape supply, building supply, and hardscape supply houses that are focused on that growing trend of the outdoor kitchen and outdoor living room. We're finding that those types of entities are actually very, very active in that outdoor kitchen trend and are very good at promoting our product line.
And, of course, you'd be able to find any type of dealer network in your particular area if you go to indoors, the numeral 2, and then the word out.com.
Our new website has a dealer locator that you can put in your zip code, and it'll come up with the dealers that are nearest to you. And since we have only really been starting up about March of this year, we still have a lot of room to grow. So if you don't have a dealer in your vicinity, by all means contact us, and we will help you out in any way we can.
We're talking with William Montgomery. He is the vice president and co-owner of Quintessential Outdoor Living Company, talking about these Q-Series wood-fired ovens. And I know I have a dealer right down the road from me in Walton Hills, so I'm going to be headed down there this week to check them out since I missed you over the weekend. William, appreciate you coming on the show and talking about the Q-Series wood-fired ovens, and continued success.
Thank you very much, Greg. I really appreciate the time, and keep the fire burning.
All right, appreciate it. So, William Montgomery, Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. Again, indoors, the numeral 2, and then the word out, OUT.com, is the website for more information. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back with more. It's Rampy and you right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at TheBarbecueGuru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU.
Forget going from site to site to get all your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at Fred's Music and barbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the Pellet Grill Superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber as well as a full lineup of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. You can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichland of Barbecue U fame. Check Fred out on the web at fredsmusicandbbq.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
Get in the smoke. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back to the Barbecue Central Show. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. If you want to email the show, you can do it at bbqcentralradio@gmail.com. Happy to have you aboard. This portion of the show brought to you by the good folks over at the Barbecue Guru, makers of automatic pit temperature control devices, not to mention a host of other products that make your barbecue and grilling life easier. 2 ways to find them. You can do it on the internet, thebbqguru.com, or you can dial them up toll-free on the telephone, 800-288-GURU. It's the good folks over at the Barbecue Guru. As promised, she is the premier pellet lady in all of barbecue industry. It's Candy Weaver from Barbecuer's Delight. Candy, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks, Greg.
Well, thanks for taking the time out to do this. I certainly appreciate it. Had you ever actually run for KCBS in the past?
No, I have not. Being an active member, it was something that I felt that I could give back to the organization. That's really meant so much to me.
Can you explain to us kind of what the voting process is and what the dates to vote are?
There's a dating range of dates, and members vote online through their membership, their KCBS member number. And if you're not an online person, you can request a paper ballot. But it's all conducted by a third party. And the results will be announced at the banquet in Philadelphia on the 16th of January.
And it should be mentioned that incumbents doesn't mean that they're necessarily automatically in. They do have to run and make sure they're reelected.
Exactly, and there's 3 strong incumbents running this time. The Baron, Paul Kirk, Mike Lake of Rock River Barbecue, and Linda Mullane from the Northeast. There's 4 spaces. They're coming up for election this year, and if assuming that the incumbents get reelected, which is not a good assumption because change is good, and the term is for 3 years.
And that's a good point that you make, because I think probably in the past, and maybe from within, it is more or less assumed that if you're currently on the board and you're able to run and you haven't run in any time limitations, which I believe is 3 years, that you will almost automatically get reelected because you have some type of experience on that. Now, having said that, it doesn't seem like there has been any other time in KCBS history, or at least publicly, that there has been as much turmoil that has been shown in the public eye. We had the Rod Gray incident there a handful of months ago where he actually stepped down from the board. There was certainly a lot of internet chatter going on about board of directors need to take a new stance, or we need to get rid of this person. A lot of people talking about change, so it seems like this is the year where if there needs to be, or there's a want to bring new blood in, incumbents, not saying they've done a bad job, but if you want to get new blood in, you got to get the old blood out. What was your jumping off point to say, this is the year that I actually want to run for the BOD?
I have been asked in a couple of years past, and I really didn't think I was ready. This year, the board has been so fractured. There seems to be a real tendency to micromanage things. Board of directors must look to the future. They must plot a course for future growth and future development of the organization. Board members are all over the country, and you've got to put the best people in place in the office and then let them do their jobs.
Is it safe to say that all the stuff that we've been reading on the internet, that it might be just a very small handful of people that are talking loud, and that in any organization that there's going to be some type of disagreement with the way things are run, and this shouldn't be looked at as intently as maybe it has been?
I think we definitely have a vocal minority, and what really sparked me into running for the board is the fact that there's only one cook on the board right now. And when Rod stepped down, that left Mike Lake, who does not typically vote on matters in the board because he is the president and he chooses not to. That leaves the cooks without a vote on the board.
So for the people that don't understand that, why is it important to have actual competition cooks on the board versus people that maybe aren't taking part in competitions?
Look at the money. A cook typically will spend $500 on a contest. That's a lot of money. They deserve a voice in how this organization is run. They deserve a voice in determining rules and rule changes. They deserve to have their viewpoint heard.
So aside from the micromanaging and the internal fracturing that you had mentioned previously, what are some of the other things that you see as issues right now? And then what would you do if you were elected to kind of bring your vision and your ways of change into the board of directors?
I believe we need to seriously look at all the rules. We need to simplify the rules. We are getting more and more cooks that are coming to contests at a local level, but, you reel them in and they get hooked and they're going to start venturing further and further afield to go to more contests because it's fun. I think it's very important that the rules are in place and they're easy to understand. This whole pork business, for example. Number one, telling a cook that they can't reheat the meat after it's been cooked and parted for presentation is saying that you're going to turn it in perhaps in the danger zone to where you might make some judge sick.
Right.
And that's not good. If we're going to really look at the health of our judges, maybe it's time to seriously look at doing away with garnish. There's a lot of other sanctioning bodies out there that do not use any kind of foreign green matter in the boxes because it's a meat contest.
So having mentioned that, have you actually had other prior experience with some of the other organizations?
I went down and cooked an IBCA contest in Texas just last weekend. They use the same size boxes that we have, and they give you a sheet of foil. Now, they're very regimented in how the meat is presented, but you cook a half a chicken, you turn in 7 pork spare ribs, and they have to be piled up on each other and horizontal to the hinge, and 7 slices of brisket that must be as thick as a pencil. And it's very different. It's a lot of fun, and I felt very blessed in that I got a 10th place call in chicken and made the finals table in brisket. It was a lot of fun. But I'd sure like to look into seeing what FBA does and what South Carolina does and what they do out in the Pacific Northwest. And for that matter, NBN. Let's see what they do in their blind boxes. Because after all, it's a meat contest. However you do it, it's not necessarily a bad thing to be on an even playing field.
I'm glad you brought up garnish because I have a very distinct way of looking on this because as it sits in KCBS rules right now, garnish is listed as optional. So why not either vote it in as you have to have it in as a mandatory part of the rule or vote it out where it's you're not allowed to garnish a box like it is in some of the other sanctioning bodies?
I agree. And number one, if you're going to allow it, if you're going to say you've got to have it, then you've got to trust your cooks to know how to safely prepare the garnish, to make sure it's washed, to make sure that it's not infected with E. coli or whatever else that could make somebody sick. You have to trust that certain things have taken place. One of the problems is they've had so many great cooking schools in the last several years that everybody and their brother is doing a parsley pudding green box. And it becomes terribly time consuming to do one of those things. I mean, it's an hour a box you're spending where you could be doing things that are of greater benefit, I think, at a barbecue contest.
Is there anything else that you see that's glaring that you would like to address should you be elected to the board of directors?
I would like to say that I'm running on a platform of unity, that let's all remember that we all have the best interests of KCBS in our hearts and minds. Let's look towards the future. Let's plan a vision of where we want KCBS to be in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years and work towards developing those goals. Let's work towards having judging refreshment training. Maybe they need to have their own column to talk about things that they see on the tables. There's so much that we could do with our membership. We're so lucky right now, and that KCBS is growing, and more people are really enjoying the sport of competitive cooking. More organizers are out there developing neat series like the American Bass Anglers Association, and Georgia's developing its state championship to actually have its state champion in Georgia. You know, NASCAR getting involved in barbecue. How can you not be excited? We're in a growing thing. How can we not do what's best to develop the future? We have the barbecue road trip that's out there bringing new people and educating more people to KCBS and what it is. We have a great opportunity. Let's make the most of it.
This is Candy Weaver. You know her from Barbecuer's Delight. She sells some of the best pellets out there. She's also making a first run at running for the Kansas City Barbecue Society's Board of Directors. Candy, what's the website where people can go and pick up some pellets and great barbecue-related items?
BarbecuersDelight.com. That's BBQRSDELIGHT.com. And thank you, Greg. That's nice.
And Candy, I certainly appreciate your time for doing it.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, take care. BarbecuersDelight.com is the place to go. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with one more segment. It's Rempe and you right here on the Barbecue Central Show.
The future of barbecue is already here at thebarbecueguru.com. From the amazing guru that monitors and controls the temperatures of any charcoal, wood, or electric pit to the Caldera Tallboy knockdown smoker. Yes, it breaks down and stores flat, yet it's still a robust, sturdy, portable cooker and smokehouse. It also serves as an efficient temperature-controlled convection oven using wood or charcoal. The Tallboy is designed to fit all catering pans and can be used as a warming oven. You can cook in any style you choose. Make ribs, chicken, jerky, vegetables, smoked cheese, whatever you want. Take it to KCBS competitions and unload it from the trunk of your car. TheBarbecueGuru.com is where you'll find the Caldera 3-Bay Caterer. It's stainless steel and uses charcoal or sterno for chafing purposes. And it doubles as a 3-bay sink or wash station with hot water and knocks down in seconds with no tools required for transportation and storage. The future of barbecue is here at TheBarbecueGuru.com. That's www.thebbqguru.com or call 1-800-288-GURU.
Forget going from site to site to get all your barbecue and grilling supplies and make your first and final stop at fredsmusicandbarbecue.com. In the market for a new barbecue pit, we have all the big name brands like Big Green Egg and more. As a matter of fact, Fred's is staffed by eggheads and carries all the parts and accessories for the Big Green Egg. More of a pellet head, you say? Fred's is the pellet grill superstore with grills in stock from Traeger, Green Mountain, and Country Smokers from Louisiana Grills. Fred also carries smokers from Cook Shack, Bradley, and Weber as well as a full lineup of charcoal grills. And once you're outfitted with your new smoker or grill, you'll find absolutely everything you need to make your barbecue or grilling experience a success. Fred is also the creator and distributor of Tasty Licks barbecue products, including their great line of rubs, spices, and sauces. You gotta try them. You can also get your hands on a full lineup of marinades, accessories, lump charcoal, wood chips, pellets, chunks, and even the great grilling tools from Stephen Reichland of Barbecue U fame. Check Fred out on the web at fredsmusicandbbq.com or check out their fully stocked showroom in beautiful Shillington, PA.
It's the only thing that is currently not sucking in Cleveland. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, we're back. It's the Barbecue Central Show. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. BBQ Central Radio at gmail.com is the email. 216-220-0966 is the phone number. Wrapping up, thanks again to Candy Weaver for joining us last segment, talking about her run for the Kansas City Barbecue Society's Board of Directors. We're going to be having 2 more interviews next week. With that, we'll have Jeff Stiff and John Kirby on next week. Jeff will be on first segment, and John will be on in the same segment as Candy was this week. Also, thanks again to my guest, William Montgomery from Indoors2Out.com, and first segment guest, Rod Gray from Pellet Envy, talking about Team of the Year and winning that for 2009. Very dramatic run here. Not going to have nearly enough time to cover the last segment. We did run a little long with Rod, but that was certainly worth it. Wanted to spend some time talking about the hotly debated and reviewed TV show that debuted last Thursday, the Barbecue Pitmasters show. We had John Marcus, the creator and executive producer of that show, on last week before it launched. And the show aired, evidently did very well in the ratings. And again, this is going to be shown to a bunch of people that probably aren't really necessarily familiar with competition barbecue. So there's going to be some ramp-up time, some learning time for them to get adjusted to. It's on at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on TLC. Depending on where you're at in the country, you want to check your local listings to make sure that you can find it. For me, jury's going to be out here for a couple shows. It's really tough to say if the show is going to be a raging success just from the jump. Seinfeld wasn't considered a raging success right from the jump. Neither were a handful of shows. Reality show. I'm not necessarily a real big reality show guy. I think that the writing has kind of dumbed it down to where a lot of TV companies have tried to put on reality shows in place of becoming creative. That has become a stopgap for a lack of creativity in TV. Just my personal opinion. So it's really going to be up to the general audience, which is not us, the Centralites, the people that know about competition barbecue, the people that are steeped into that subculture. It's really going to be the general audience that's going to be crucial in carrying the overall success of the show and having it on for another season. I did think they did a pretty good job at giving you some background on the contestants or the I don't even know what do you call them, the cast. To a certain degree, I think there might have been some. I think there might have been some coaching or some promos or something like that. I don't know. Some of it felt a little awkward to me in stages. Could just be the fact that they weren't used to cameras all over them for 24/7 during that filming process. I mean, really, the biggest issue I had, and it actually is going to go back to Garnish here as I wrap up here in about 15 seconds. It was specifically mentioned in that show, and if you have it taped, you have to go back and look at it. It was specifically mentioned as they were explaining how the KCBS process works, that garnish was mandatory, or I believe they said it has to have garnish in the box. No, according to the rules, garnish is optional. So Paul Peterson, that dude was really struggling. He was just fine. Not throwing any. He didn't even have to stick that one thing of lettuce in his box to turn in there. It's optional, Paul. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Your box looked good, brother. First time in a barbecue competition. And I don't want to hear that crap about how his close pit blew a tire, so that's going to look bad on the close pit. I was reading that on the internet. What the hell is that all about? What are you talking about? If anything, we should look at the tire manufacturer. I guess. I mean, it has nothing to do with the close pit, so don't even bring that noise to me. That's weak. Thinking that the close pit's bad or you're going to get some bad press because it popped a tire. Come on. You can do better than that. Well, maybe not on the internet. You can. All right, I got to bug out here. I am late. Thanks for joining me again. Thanks to my guests, Rod Gray from Pellet Envy, pelletenvy.com. During the first segment, William Montgomery from Quintessential Outdoor Living Company. That's indoors, then the numeral 2, the word out.com. Check out their Q Series ovens. Very cool. Thanks to Candy Weaver from Barbecuers Delight, talking about her run for the Kansas City Barbecue Society Board of Directors. And most of all, thanks to the Centralites for tuning in. Again, jam-packed show next week, KCBS times 2 interviews. And who else do we have coming up next week? Derek Riches will be reviewing some accessories to get your loved one for the Christmas. And Team Grill will be on to talk about their unique brand of grill. So another 4-segment show of interviews and good time. Until we see you again next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.